But we are so grateful to be here and we have a wonderful guest. Dr. Archer is here with us on Zoom. Dr. Danielle Archer is a licensed mental health therapist and stage 4 cancer patient. She utilizes her clinical experience and her cancer journey to help cancer patients manage their mental health before, during, and after treatment. Dr. Archer also works with oncology professionals to understand the importance of incorporating mental health into their treatment plans. Danielle's area of expertise includes trauma, grief, depression, and anxiety, with a special emphasis of treating individuals who have eating disorders pre-cancer diagnosis. And then we also have a wonderful patient panel here with us. I'll give the mic to Loren to introduce them.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're grateful you're here. I'm Loren Seamon. I am a board member with Ocular and also a patient, well, always a recovering patient, right? But I want to introduce my beautiful friends. I had the pleasure of meeting years ago, not because of good things, it was because of OM. And Jack Odell, who's I haven't seen in years, and I'm so glad to see you. And Wendy Carpenter, also, I haven't seen her in years. So when we first decided on this session, it was going to have a really bad word to it, like instead of I'm done with OM, it was going to be the F word, because, you know, we've all been through a lot. So, and that's how we really feel about it, like F, you know, OM, right? So our beautiful friends are going to help us today discuss it. So thank you.
I'm Jack Odell. I was on the board for 4 or 5 years, and I'm still one of the directors of Ocular Melanoma Research for Ocular. I was diagnosed at 71. No, at 61. I'm 71 now. So I was at the average age for a diagnosis. I had proton beam. I had 2 biopsies, the second for genomic testing, and after that, my doctor gave me my prognosis, which was I would live in July of 2013, 2 months to 2 years. And I was told to get my affairs in order. At which point, my husband fell off the chair behind me. I sat like a stump in the chair, and Dr. D'Amato said, "Jack, I'm really worried about you. You haven't reacted." And I said, "I'm very pragmatic. I will react." And he said, I learned several things at that moment. He said, "In that case, can I take care of John? He's having a bit of trouble with this." And I said, "Yes." So you take care of yourself, you take care of others. And I'm glad to be here.
Great, thanks. I just want to say something, Jack. When you before I introduce myself, I'm Wendy, but I will just a moment. When you think about it's only been 10 years since you were given that type of diagnosis, so just acknowledging how far things have come, and yay for 10 years.
Thank you.
So I know you just celebrated it this summer. So anyway, I'm Wendy Carpenter. I don't even know how old I was when I was diagnosed, because I don't really count my age anymore. I'm in my 40s. So I was diagnosed on the younger end. I was diagnosed with a freckle in my eye in 2017 at a regular appointment. Went for about 18 months getting that monitored, and then it grew a little, so opted for treatment. I also had proton beam therapy here in Seattle. Very fortunate that is available here. And I am in one of the rarer of the rare categories of the treatment did not work for me, and so a year afterwards, my tumor recurred. It's not common if there's any newly diagnosed folks here. That is, I am, again, my Dr. Stacy says I am one of the only ones that he has ever seen this happen to. So I opted for enucleation. That was about 3 years ago. And so yeah, it's been a journey. Lots learned. So that's my introduction.
So I'm going to interject real quick, just to give you guys hope. I was diagnosed in 2001, and I'm still here. So don't ever give up hope, right? We don't. So,
Yeah, and I am hesitant to share my story sometimes because for newly diagnosed people it can seem, overwhelming, but it's not. Like I'm very happy. I'm almost at 5 years since original diagnosis. It'll be this December, so really exciting. And yeah, Danielle.
Yes. Hello. Well, thank you everybody for having me, and I'm glad that I'm able to appear by Zoom. Yes, I am a stage 4 cancer patient. Unlike everyone that is present, my cancer is not ocular in nature. However, my unique position as a mental health therapist and also as a fellow cancer patient has really created a lot of commonalities in the community, right? It's so funny to talk to cancer patients, and I know that everybody's kind of the same way. It's like all of a sudden we become like these medical professionals. We know all sorts of terminology and all sorts of therapies and blood counts and all of these technical terms that we normally wouldn't. So we become, excuse me, these pseudo medical experts, as well as these self advocates. And much like when Jack was diagnosed, my first diagnosis was very anticlimactic and very anti Hallmark movie channel kind of. It was like we were coming home and I looked at my husband. I was like, "Did the doctor just tell me I have cancer?" And my husband's like, "Yeah, I know it." Okay, right? And it's very interesting when that happens because we always anticipate what that's going to look like in our world and how things are going to be affected. And I find as a patient, more often than not, we're caring for the people around us and preparing them for what it is that we're going to be experiencing and less on what we're doing for ourselves. And it's in these communities, it's in these rooms, whether it's for ocular cancer, whether it's a general cancer conference, whatever the case may be, we find sanctity and community in these rooms where we can talk about whether or not we have a terminal diagnosis or we have a positive prognosis and it's accepted. And we don't necessarily have to feel bad about what our outcome is because we're all coming from a very similar place. But what I do find is hard is, as we're living with disease, those moments of when we're just like, and I saw it on social media this morning. It was a meme, and it's like, I'm coping, I'm coping, I'm coping, I'm coping, and then it's like, holy crap, I'm tired of coping. I don't want to have cancer anymore. I don't want to feel this in my body. I don't want this anymore. And then it's, I'm coping, I'm coping, I'm coping, I'm coping, right? And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to cancer and cancer treatment, that's kind of where we're at, is we've learned to cope, and then we get to a point and we go, I just want to have a bad day. And it's how do we relay those things to the people around us, which I find is the hardest. It's like we want to be normal. We want to have normal lives, we want to have normal jobs, we want people to treat us normal, but on like the flip side of that, it is also that I have cancer. Like I feel like crap. I am tired. I am all of these things. So we often don't know how we feel from day to day. So it's also very hard for us on how we can advocate for ourselves with people in our circle on how they should treat us is where I find that a lot of cancer patients get stuck. So I don't know if anybody, anyone on the panel has experienced that or how they deal with that, if they can share a piece of that with everybody.
I can ping off of that. Is this mic on?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. I was told recently, and the way it was introduced to me, was that, Jack, don't take offense at this, but when you were diagnosed, it was quite obvious that I was in a shell, I was in a dark place, but she said, You handled it just like you handle everything, like it's a business transaction. It was impersonal to me. It was a deal. It followed me everywhere. I couldn't ignore it. But I didn't give it the time of day. I managed, just like you said, I managed the people around me. I have a wonderful partner who jumped in, immediately got a naturopathic oncologist on board. First thing, he had me on 40 pills, supplements. And it was the natural oncologist who introduced us to a scientist who took charge of my entire medical team. So I had a lot of backing, but our families were across the United States. And I have read an article, there were a lot of first-year patients here, so I'll just tell you this, managing others and their expectations and their fears. I read an article called Susan's Story. It was a woman who had breast cancer, and she and her husband came up with a way to introduce people gradually to their story. And it started with a circle with the patient in the middle. The next was your caregiver, and then your family. Well, our family, quite frankly, were 3 couples on our street who we did everything with. So you have to choose who your family is and what you're going to tell. But as you add circles, you are becoming more public with your story. And you're going to lose friends. I had 2 friends that just ghosted me. And I learned, it really bothered me, and it really upset me, but I realized finally it was them. It's like a dating breakup. Oh, it's me, not you. Well, it was them, not me. But then I realized you have to distance yourself from toxic people. And you read about this, and it's not easy. But people use you, and they become habits, and they don't want to hear the word cancer. Well, that's not healthy. You need to distance yourself from those people. So you have to eventually manage yourself and others. And I got through in a business way quite nicely, I think, without a lot of trauma.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, I'm just thinking, I'm sitting with, I'm tired of coping. Like I still get to that place. I've learned so much about myself on this journey. I'm a highly anxious person, always have been. Didn't really know that until my diagnosis. And sometimes I just get tired of coping and I just want to be done. And I will say that, I didn't really have the experience of like worrying or managing other people's reactions to my cancer until my recurrence. And so I have a lot more thoughts about that now. My mom is in this room right now. She has been my caregiver. She's the one who has spent many days up here in Seattle helping care for me for various things. Telling your parents that you have a recurrence and that it's much scarier this time was really, really hard. And yeah, I don't really know. I go in when I find that in the moments like when I was in active treatment or actively fighting something, like I go into this mode of like, okay, get all the information, I make all my plans, and then when it's done, it's the weight of everything that I just dealt with like weighs on me. That's when I get tired. That's when I get when I have, when I experience some really extreme depression. And it's about finding the things that I think bring you joy to get you out of that. And how do you have those moments where it's not all about ocular melanoma? Because, I think the topic is, I'm done with ocular melanoma, but how do you be done with something that you're never really done with and finding that balance? And yeah, so.
It's almost not healthy either way.
Yeah.
Too much or too little.
Yeah. Because I've thought about moments of like, I just walk away from this. Like, I'll be honest, like coming to this, I was like, oh, I'm like, I don't really want to, I want to pretend like this isn't my life. And then I come and I've met some of the most amazing people that have become amazing friends. You lose some friends, but I've gained so many more. along the journey. But how do you live in that in between of like, it's part of you, so you can ignore it, but it's still there. And because we're such a small community, like us being there for each other, and that's what always brings me back. Like I'll take a foot out and I'll be like, nope, I'm not, and then somebody resonates with me. Like somebody new in the Facebook group resonates with me, and I reach out and just like some people did to me when I first started, and Jack being one of those people who, I remember when I had the markers placed on my eye, and like I texted Jack, I'm like, I just had my markers placed on my eye, and he sent me a picture of him the day he came back, and he was like up working, and just so anyway, I don't really know where I'm going with that. Please forgive me.
I can relate to that because I reached out when I finally had control of my situation. I was deep inside myself again, having to deal with this. And I thought, what do I usually do? Well, I take care of other people. And I reached out to Melody. And I said, do you need some help?
Yeah.
So my joining the board was months and years of process with me and Melody coming up with these ideas that didn't go before the board. And she'd say, do you want to run with this? And I'd say, done.
Yeah.
And I met the most amazing people. Our community is so supportive, and you can't not be a part of it.
Did that help with your question? I guess, where I go is that I allow one day to be on my pity pot, right? Because I'm in another treatment right now. I get treatments to my eyes, both of them. And I've been doing it since 2017. And, my cancer has been arrested, thank God, but I have other issues because of the cancer in both eyes. And, the day before, I'm like, I don't want to go, but it's about acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean I like it, right? But I accept it. And I allow myself one day, like when I get home, I'm in bed and I just turn the world off, but then I have to move on. And I look at where's the gratitude of what is good in my life. And as like we all need to do, and you had said it earlier, we need to surround ourselves with people that lift us up and love us. And the negative's got to go, because life's too short, but I take care of myself today, and I surround myself with positive people and try to stay in the gratitude, because I find that helps a lot. But acceptance also, doesn't mean I like it, because I sure don't. It's very painful what I'm doing, and but that's my way.
Yeah, and I think radical acceptance, I've been to many therapists, more in the last several years than before, but radical acceptance was one of the most eye-opening, life-changing things for me, where you can, it is what it is. You can be sad, and you can be happy at the same time. They can all live together. But I have ocular melanoma. That's just a fact. And sometimes I'm very just blunt like that with friends and family, and sometimes they don't know how to take it because they're like, oh, that's so horrible. And I'm like, no, it is what it is. Yes, it's sad, but there's also great things about it that have come because of it.
Danielle, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love about panels like these is having everybody's different perspective. And, with the audience, like you said, there's a lot of newly diagnosed people there. I remember when I was diagnosed, you get a number for an oncologist, you get a number for a surgeon, you get a number for this and that, but never one time was I given a number for a support group or given a number for a mental health therapist, or a number, a number for any of those things, right? They take care of the business end of it. So when we're going through treatment, we go through a lot of the motions, but we don't go through the emotions, right? Because that's not emphasized. And I think how we deal with it emotionally, and who we have in our corner is just as important as who we have taking care of our medical needs, right? So when we come to these events and we're networking with people and we're talking with people, it is pulling from all these different perspectives and finding the one that resonates with you. It's like, like what Wendy says, like, I've had cancer for 5 years, and I'm like, people are like, oh my God, you have cancer. I'm like, yeah. you know, for me, it's like, it's like breathing now. It's like, it's part of who I am. And I had to get over myself of like, there's people who just like are not cool with that. And they're like, like, oh my God, like you have leprosy, or, people like, okay, you've got cancer. Great. And it's especially a weird thing for me as a therapist, because I do tell clients that I have cancer. And it's not for sympathy. It's like, listen, sometimes I have to reschedule my appointment. Sometimes I have to go to the ER, like, so it's more of an informative thing. And I found in that space, I was really reluctant to do it, but I found in that space, it was, people were like, oh, you're feeling okay? Okay, cool. Well, I've got this, and this going on, right? Like, so they didn't treat me any different. And for me, working with my clients helped me deal with like people in my regular life, like friends and family, who did not know how to deal with me because I had cancer, right? So it is finding that balance of what works for you. Yeah, there's gonna be days you're gonna sit in bed and you're gonna eat, Ben and Jerry's, and you watch Netflix all day, and you're not gonna change your clothes. And there's days you're gonna get up and you're like, I've got cancer. Okay, cool. I'm gonna get dressed and I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna do these things. So the balance of it is just, it's like a scale. So it's never a 50-50 balance. We're gonna have these days where we're good. We're gonna have the days when we're not. But knowing who our support is and where we can go to for help. So I know that I can, if I get a new diagnosis or something weird happens, I know I'm not calling my dad, right? Because my dad's gonna panic and he's gonna worry, he's gonna ask 8,000 questions, and I have the mental capacity for it. But I know I can call this person, and I can call that person. I know 2 days from now I can call my dad, because then he can handle it, right? So I think that's an important piece of it too, is just because we have people in our circle doesn't mean we have to include everybody in all of our stuff all the time. We have to gauge for ourselves what we can handle emotionally, because what we find, I found, sometimes what we do is we just like, people want to be involved, so we give and give and give and give all this information, and we're just constantly relaying information to people, but we don't have time to sit with it for ourselves and find out what it means for us. And that's a really important piece of it. So I find a lot of times that's why cancer patients start blogs. Here, go to my blog site. Just, you want to know what's going on with me, go to my blog site. There's cancer registries. I don't know about you, but when I died, well, probably not for ocular cancer, but for other types of cancer, like, I have gotten more friggin' coloring books than I know what to do with in my life. Why do people in cancer patients color? I don't know. I don't color. I have so many coloring books, I can open my own store, right? But, so they do, they have these cancer registries, and it's like, okay, like, here, do you want to like send me a gift card for Starbucks? Like, I need somebody to clean my house. I don't need the color, right? I have neuropathy and I can't stand up. Can somebody come fold my clothes for me? But I think that we get, as patients, especially newly diagnosed, that we feel kind of like jerks when like people are offering to help us, but it's not like the help we really need, and we don't want to say no. We had people making, after I got diagnosed with cancer, my husband had emergency open heart surgery. That was a whole ordeal. And people were from my kids' school, they were making us food and bringing us food, and it was wonderful. And my husband does not eat chicken, and everything was chicken. And we weren't eating any of the food that was coming to our house. And I felt so horrible, because I was like, how can I be like, I seemed so I felt I was seeming unappreciative, right? But again, it's that advocacy piece. It's like, this is what I appreciate your help. but this is like actually what I need. So when people go, hey, what can I do to help you? Like actually saying what it is that you can do to help, right? And as cancer patients, we don't do that. We're just like, no, we're fine. I'm okay. I got this. And people are like, I can really use an Uber to treatment or something, right? But um, we don't advocate for our emotional needs as well as we advocate for our medical needs.
I can relate to that because people almost in passing going out the door say, if you need anything, call me.
Mm-hmm.
And you read this in articles and they say, that's putting the pressure back on the cancer patient. Well, how do we turn that around? I'm lonely. I'm living alone. I can't see well enough to drive. I'm willing to babysit your kids if you would go to the grocery store with me. You have to come into a pattern to advocate for yourself, and it's hard to ask your friends and neighbors because eventually, I've survived 10 years. If I didn't have John and my great neighbors, I wouldn't have any friends in the neighborhood.
I think too, like, we spend so much time advocating for the medical side of it that it's really hard to think about what we actually need. And so when people are asking you what you need, you don't actually know sometimes. It's really, like sometimes you do. You just want somebody to sit there. Really funny on the coloring book thing, though, because that's really, you hit it so good. I had a friend who was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and I did a little gift basket for her. And I gave her a coloring book and a blanket, and I said in the note, I said, I'm so sorry I'm giving this to you because you're going to get 1 million of these. But I don't know what it is. Like, why do people think that you want to color? Especially, and I will be honest with ocular melanoma, really, like, your vision is all messed up, so you really can't color, or it's going to be really abstract. It'll be
You don't have to stay in the lines.
You definitely don't stay in the lines. But I think, asking for what you need is really, really hard. Because for me, I just honestly didn't know a lot of the times. And a lot of times for me, it was just people reaching out and, asking how I'm doing or just being there to talk.
I did hear another patient years ago opened up a communicable page on Caring Bridge.
Oh, Caring Bridge. Mm-hmm.
And she was able to work her friends because everybody who came to check up on her there was of the mind that they wanted to help her.
Yeah.
So yes, there are avenues out there.
Yeah, and I did a Caring Bridge site originally, but I found like it was really hard to update that. So I'm very open. I'm very open with my journey, like not just this journey, but my journey in life on Instagram and Facebook. And so I post a lot there, and I found that to be really, cathartic for me to post there, to just get it out. Then it reaches a wide range of people. They can take it in on their own moment. They can skip it or not. And, then oftentimes people will reach out, and I've connected to many people that way.
Well, and I think the thing too, though, is so much of the paraphernalia and stuff out there is be strong, and you got this, and be positive, and be strong. And it's almost like if we say that we're struggling emotionally, that we're somehow failing, right? So when we talk about cancer and people, and over the years, I've had to tell people oh, you're so strong. And I'm like, no, my choices are to die or to live. So I'm not strong. I've made a choice to live, and this is what I have to do to live. So, and again, it's much like when somebody passes away, you never know what to say when somebody dies. It's the same thing with cancer. It's people don't know how to approach us. They don't know how to talk to us. They don't know how to care for us. They don't know what the right thing to say is, And again, it's going back to that self-advocacy piece of you don't have to tell me to be strong. You don't have to tell me God give you can't, God doesn't give you anything, more than you could handle, or, whatever the case may be. a lot of times too with cancer, when you're in active treatment, people are like, oh, but you look so good. Thank you. I'm glad I look good. Like, I don't know. It's like, and again, it's people trying, they're trying to like go in the recesses of their mind and go, okay, like what are the nice things I can say and how can I lift somebody up? But it's not necessarily what we need. And again, it's like that piece of like, I don't want to be a jerk because you're trying to be nice, but like, I mean, I probably could have paid off my medical bills with how many times people have told me how good I look or having, right? I should start charging people. But again, it's that emotional piece, like that doesn't resonate with me. Like, send me a joke. Like, I mean, if you're not following cancer patients, like certain cancer like sites on Twitter, you're missing out because the senses of humor that are out there on cancer patients is unmatched. Like it is, and it's such a great space because it's supportive and we could tell jokes and we can do those things, but we can also share when somebody loses a friend or loses a loved one. And it's a very, such a great space to be in. If we have to make it a great space, like it really is, because the community that's created by cancer is really in and of itself just really supportive. When I met Melody and everybody from this group, it was here in Florida. I met him at a cancer conference. I was there for the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, and we just happened to be in the booths next to each other. And when I came home that day, my husband was like, I have not seen you like this peppy in like a long time. And I was like, being around like other cancer patients, like other people who just get it. I don't care, we don't have the same cancer. Like it's that community, but it's also a heartbreaking community because you do see people with reoccurrences, you do see people die. So it's the good with the bad. But I think having the base of like your loved ones, like the people that are closest to you in the cancer community, and then from there you're able to kind of figure out what it is that you need from other people, and again learning how to advocate for your emotional needs just as much as you advocate for your medical ones.
We're getting close to the end, and this is very personal, and we've been talking. If you have questions, why don't you write them down early, and we'll try to address as many as we can.
And I was going to say something about support. For me, being of service to others, that's where I get my greatest joy, and it gets me out of myself, and I'm not in that. But being around other cancer patients, we have a Zoom meeting. Anybody that's here today, I don't know if you know, Ocular site has a Zoom meeting on Tuesday evenings. And it's a great support place to come. And it's a family. We're all family here. We're all walking this life together. Our journeys are different. Our cancers might be different. But we get each other, like you said, right? We understand each other. And when we're around like-minded people that understand us, and that's what we try to explain to the doctors, when they give us a diagnosis of whatever it may be, cancer, whatever, stroke, whatever, heart attack, we're hearing blah, 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 blah. That's why, we need each other, because we understand each other. We're all walking this path together. So we thank you so much for being here today. I'm sorry I didn't meet you in Orlando. I couldn't make it. But for anybody that's here attending as a patient, we do have a support group. We started in March of 2020. And it's a great place to come and be with other people that understand you, But did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I was going to ask just one question, I think just for everyone, one of the questions I have is, what is something that you do? Like for you, it's getting out and helping, the community or doing that. But what is something that you do to kind of not escape OM, but just get outside of it? Do you have a day where it's just like, this is my cancer-free day, or do you have anything? I'm just curious.
Mine's easy. I retired in 2009, and I failed miserably. I'm an architect, and still to this day, I'm designing. I don't have staff or an office, but that's my one outlet, and my love is drawing and designing. And helping others, I told.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have like the helping others. I mean, for me, it's photography. Prior to my diagnosis, I did portrait photography. Since my diagnosis, I no longer do that. I do exclusively, nature. I love the ocean. Those are moments like where I just get outside of it. And also, this is really random, but building Lego sets. It's totally crazy, but for whatever reason, like following those instructions is like something that I think about nothing else. Like it's just about the next step and my mind calms. And so I spend a lot of money on Legos. I don't know what I'm going to do with them because I don't really display them. I build them and then I put them back in the box. Some I have a few displayed, but anyway, I'm just curious, you Danielle, is there anything that you do?
It really depends. Work is really important to me. So, the fact that I'm able to work, I work from home, and be able, to help other people is really good. And just trying to engage in hobbies. But for me, it's cancer's like white noise, right? It's something that I live with. It's something that's a part of me, but it's always in the back of my head. So it's about how loud am I going to let that voice be today versus it being like a cancer-free day. How loud of a voice is going to be. And sometimes it depends on whatever symptoms I'm experiencing. Some of my days are very symptom side effect driven. In those days, it's harder for me to even like read a book, watch a movie or whatever, because I'm concentrating on whatever my symptoms are. On days that I'm feeling good, it's like way back in the far of my head, and I'm able to do a hobby. I like to cross stitch, which is hard. I have neuropathy in my hands, which is hard for me to do, but I do it because I want to keep the mobility going. Just getting out with my kids. I mean, I live near Disney, so we go to the parks if it's not 500 degrees out. And sometimes just going out and taking a walk around the neighborhood, or just, seeing friends, just those little things, and really honoring the space of where my body and my mind are that particular day, I think is really important. And again, people that are in your life are going to understand it. The people that hang around are going to understand it and really, just like, okay, you can't make it today, cool. Or, oh, we're supposed to go out in an hour, but you can't. Okay, fine. So being able to get comfortable with that as well has been really important for me too.
Well, you've been a great contributor to this session. Thank you very much. I wish you'd been here live with us.
I know, me too. I've never been to Seattle, so that was a good day.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.